Hi, it is day 152 of the Travel Agency in a Year podcast. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Rachel Kay. If you don't know who I am, and I say this every episode because I don't know when you're going to find me, go to elevatewithrachelk.com. I'm a travel agency owner. I help travel advisors. You don't have to join my team. It's not a pyramid scheme, nothing like that. I just want to help you all, okay? Let's all make some money, baby. Okay. Today's episode is all about maintaining your momentum. So I talked about yesterday the quarterly review and like working backwards and doing the look back and the look forward. And I was getting excited recording this episode because I'm like, I just love poring over data and being like, let's make decisions and things happen and let's come up with a plan. You might be like that too, but then you're like, but executing. Like the first 3 days, you're like, woo, I'm doing this. Just like a New Year's resolution. My life begins now. And then 3 days later, you're like, I'm still doom scrolling and door dashing constantly. I'm a slug. We all are like that for various reasons. Maybe not to that extent, maybe far worse than that. I don't know. Just know you're not alone. So if you have trouble sticking with the goals that you implement and like you're like, I'm going to start this system and I'm doing it and you are really struggling and you're just like, oh, it's because I have ADHD or ADD or ADHD or whatever the heck. Hold on. Let's do some mindset work. Even if you are like, I'm super neurodivergent and cannot stick with anything, I hope this episode helps you. And if you're like, oh, I am, and also there's a squirrel, save this episode and listen to it later, okay? Listen to it when you're in the shower. I don't know, or whatever, cooking dinner. All right, so let's talk about what you can do to maintain your momentum. Now that I've gotten through the weird intro, what is your number one goal for this year? Okay, let's focus on your travel agency. What is your number one goal for your travel agency in this year? A simple goal. It could be, I want to make 50,000 in commissions. Now we are almost halfway through the year. It's fine. But let's refocus. If you're like, I haven't got anything done. Maybe it's, I want X number of groups. Maybe it's, I want X number of new clients. I don't know what your goal is. What is your number one goal? Once you have your number one goal, please write it down for the 100th time. Write this stuff down. It will retain in your memory much better when you hand write it down onto a piece of paper or the back of an envelope or a grocery bag. I don't care. Pen to paper of some kind. Once you have that goal written down, like clenching my jaw, write down your goals. Write it down. Okay. Name 10 things that are getting in the way of said goal. 10 things. Gonna give you some time here. You're like, bitch, I'm not writing this down right now. I'm driving. You might be driving, listening to this and being like, oh, that's so easy. I can totally come up with 10 things. And you get to like 5 and then you're like, what else? But let's just focus on top 10. You might be able to rapid fire all 10. Write them down. It might be easy for you to do this, like I said. None of these things that are quote unquote getting in the way of your goal, even if you're like, I have ADD, they aren't truly in the way of your goal. Okay. We are all like, there's reasons why there's so much more treatment for neurodivergency, and there's so many gifts that people who are neurodivergent for one reason or another that they can bring to the table, or you can bring to the table if you're there. I don't know. I was quote unquote gifted, which probably means I'm real weird. I can hyper focus and I can squirrel. So who knows? Um, I would say most people are not, I don't even, neuronormative. Is that even a thing? I think we're all a little somewhere on the spectrum, a little bit. So none of these 10 things getting in the way of your goal are really truly getting in the way of your goal. They are your main limiting beliefs stopping you from doing it. And you're like, but Rachel, I've been like, let's just say ADD, but Rachel, I've been diagnosed with it. Yes. So, and like maybe you're being treated for it. Maybe you're working on treatment to help regulate things better. I was diagnosed with a hypermobile disorder. And while it does limit me in certain ways, I'm still living a fairly full life. I'm limited on mainly like high impact sports, which I sucked at anyway, so it doesn't matter. Like, oh, that's why I was terrible at them. Um, but it like I could fight for years to try and get on disability, but what's the point? Like my joints get all wonky. I tape myself together. Sometimes I feel like the scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz. It's fine. Um, but when I first got diagnosed, it was a major limiting belief. I was like, I'm useless and I can't do anything for years because I was told you can't sit for more than 2 hours. You can't stand for more than 2 hours. You can't lift more than 50 pounds. You can't run. You can't play any high impact sports. What else was it? There's so many little things like that. Be very careful about what you eat. When COVID hit, they were like, we don't know how the vaccine's going to react to you. So don't even think about taking it because there's weird interactions with medications for me, like pain meds, things like that. When I had my knee surgery, they gave me, I don't even remember what they gave me. They gave me 90 pills though. And I was like, maybe it was Vicodin because this was 12 years ago. But I remember being like, this just gives me a migraine and I still feel everything. And then I told the doctor that and they were like, oh, well, we need to readjust your meds. But I set myself up with this limiting belief like I can't be fully human because I have this diagnosis. Whatever. It's fine. I've learned to live with it. And you can learn to live with whatever you've got if you're like, but I have this, right? Anyway, those are your main limiting beliefs, is what I'm trying to say. If you're saying like, people can't afford it. Well, people don't want to work with me. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why do you just assume nobody likes you? Why are you being Eeyore? Stop it. Okay. The limiting beliefs do protect you. Don't forget, I mentioned this, I don't remember, in some other episode. Your limiting beliefs are formed when you're very, 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 very young, typically under the age of 7 in most cases, because your brain is in a hypnotic state until about 7 or 8 years old. So everything that you interact with helps form what you perceive to be reality. And these limiting beliefs are trying to protect you from the bigger issue. And the bigger issue is you got to change. Your brain don't like to change. And it's like, what do you mean? What do you mean we're actually going to be happy and successful? Better put that fire out. Better scare myself. Don't worry, I do it all the time and I have to stop. They're like, shut up, brain. It could be the limiting belief, like the main one surrounding those 10 reasons why you can't hit your goal, could just be that maybe you don't really believe you're worth it, which go ahead and cry it out. It's fine. You cannot do this all on your own in terms of like understanding your limiting beliefs. So, again, I always recommend having some trusted colleagues that you can like quote unquote talk shop. And this is part of the talking shop. Like, why do I have this weird fear, insecurity surrounding da da da? Also, therapy. If you're in therapy, like, I highly recommend therapy. Just be like, what is this about? They're going to be like, I don't know, man. Um, it could be very helpful for you as well. Just don't be afraid to ask for help from other people because they're going to show you who you really are. Like you could be like, I'm not worth it. And I guarantee you, friends, family members, colleagues that are like, you absolutely are worth it. Let's keep going. How can we help you get here? Um, I don't know why I wrote down the worst notes ever. You can also hire like a mentor, a coach, um, an advisor. Like I mentioned, therapy. Um, you want to start thinking about if you really, really can't maintain momentum, really consider who do you need to hire to help out. And it could be very, very part-time. This was like another reason why I created the success circle, and I didn't mean for this to be like, buy my shit. I give everything in like little baby steps, and I come back and remind people like, hey, are you still doing this? Because I know there's absolutely no way I could teach all the information I have in there and just be like, okay, 6 weeks later, you're done. That'll be $5,000. Stick with it. You know what I mean? So that's why it's baby steps. And it often, like, not necessarily repeat, but builds on. So think about like elementary school. If you are looking for like mentorship or something like that, I there are plenty of us out there who do offer that. I do offer one-on-one mentoring and coaching as well. But anyway, um, make sure that they have like an understanding that this isn't done in a week and that they really need to be there to support you over the long term. And that I want you to understand it is baby steps. If there's anyone telling you this can be done in 2 months, your whole life will be transformed, it's probably a bunch of AI you're being fed. And you can't. Just like when I was a personal trainer, like people would be like, I want my dream body in 4 weeks. And I'm like, well, you're kind of a flabby piece of shit right now. And you want to look like Superman, and you're 50, mm, and you have a full-time job that's incredibly stressful. That's not going to happen in a month. We're going to need more like a year, but we can get you started in a month. And it was all very, very foundational stuff. And that's, even if you're like, I know how to do a push up, it's fine. You might not be doing them totally right, right? So, same thing with your business and with your personal growth. Look into mentor, coaching, an advisor, trusted colleagues, um, to help you with all of this and help you wrap your mind about your wrap your mind around these limiting beliefs. And don't be afraid if they're like, hey, I'm noticing, if you're just venting, for example, to a trusted colleague and they say, hey, I'm noticing that this is a pattern, and have you considered da 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 da, please don't immediately clap back with like, I know I don't have that issue, because that's just immediately saying you're not even willing to look at it. And that's going to be a problem down the road. Okay. So that is weird maintaining momentum. Um, when you are struggling with the momentum and you start having the thoughts of like, I'm not worth it, and or nobody wants to work with me, or the economy's going to shit, or whatever the heck your 10 up to 10 things in the way of you achieving your goal start creeping up, pause, take some deep breaths, and say, this is not reality. I am working towards, name your goal. I am working towards 15 large groups booked this year. Like, you just got to stop. And you're slowly kind of retraining your brain, because when those thoughts come up, and you say out loud, this is not reality. I know you're probably like, I'm going to sound like a nut job alone in my office. Like, I am worth it and I will book 10 weddings this year. Sorry. But if you say it out loud, laugh at yourself while you're doing it because you're going to be like, this is ridiculous. Like, start yelling those limiting beliefs out loud and be like, I'm the most ridiculous person ever. This isn't even my thoughts. This isn't even reality. I'm going to achieve this goal. And that'll help, like, sort of diminish those limiting beliefs a little bit. And if you really, really struggle, definitely turn to, like I said, therapy, mentoring, coach, colleagues, whomever you really, really trust. I wouldn't necessarily recommend putting it all on your spouse if you're married. However, you can bring it up occasionally. But you also want to like build a full, essentially a team helping to support you. Okay, that is day 152. Thank you for listening. Save this for later if you're like, this was kind of gold, but also I want to yell at myself out loud and I'll forget about that. So I'm going to save this. I hope you have a wonderful day.